Hello, everyone. We should be live. Are we live? Let me know in the comments. I can see a bunch of comments by people who have already sent a few questions. Thank you so much for sending those questions. Today is career themed AMA. So I'm going to try and answer your questions and try and provide some help as much as I can about your career related questions. So don't ask me why your code doesn't work. This is not the AMA for that. Glad to see the comments coming in. Hi, folks. Welcome. Hope you folks are doing well. We are going to give it like a couple of minutes and then we'll get started. I'm excited to do this because I haven't done an AMA in quite a while now. In fact, I haven't done a live stream in quite a while. So I'm excited to do this. Hope you are as well. Hope you come to me with some good questions. Drop your questions in the chat. If possible, put a Q in front of the question so that I can know that it is a question for me rather than just a comment. So, and I can filter by that as well. So it makes it easy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in. I see a bunch of comments here. Love seeing this gentleman. Should I consider myself a gentleman? I'll go with what you say. Love the new setup. Thank you so much. This is, I got a new camera because I've been streaming with a webcam for the longest period of time. I'm probably the only YouTuber who has been doing this for so long and still having a webcam. So I switched to a mirrorless camera, and that's the reason why you get this nice defocus effect. That's all I did. Nothing else has changed. Just one camera. I was like, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Very excited to interact with you. I'm excited as well. Bring your questions. I want to hear your questions. There is a Q&A in the live stream window. Post your questions there. God's morning from Frankfurt. Hello there, my friend. Welcome from Frankfurt. I see a bunch of questions here, but before we get there, let me know where you folks are dialing in from. I like when people say, dialing in from over here. It's nice to see where people are from around the world. And it also gets you into the groove of just typing messages. A lot of people watch live streams and they hesitate to write something. Don't hesitate with me. I'm a nice guy. The more you tell me about yourself, the better that I feel. So please make me happy by telling me something, anything. I'm going to try and put what I want to do. Let me tell you what I want to do. I want to get the chat thing on the side here, somewhere over here. So it'll be nice to get the chat stream going. Let's see if I can do that. So close other tabs. I'm going to get the stream page open. And let's get the chat here in the window. Do you know that a lot of YouTubers hesitate to put the streaming chat, because they worry that sometimes it may not be ideal to show, but I'm not worried. You're all nice folks. Okay, I see a bunch of questions already. How are you? I'm doing well, my friend. How are you? Pune, India. Welcome. Thanks for dialing in. Thanks for joining. I think we can get started. We can get started with the questions. I'm going to scroll to the very top and start from here. I'm sure I can address only, if you have no idea how long I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try and address as many as I can, okay? All right, let's start with this one. Is the Java Spring developer role good for the future, or will we need to move on to a new set of technologies? I'm asking because there are a lot of things to master and learn in Java and Spring. Well, there are two separate questions, right? First question is it good for the future? And it's got nothing to do with how much you have to master and learn. The short answer is good for the future, I would say, is yes, because I don't see Java and Spring going away anytime. The second part of the question is, there are a lot of things to learn and master. That is true. You have to learn a lot. And when you go in, you kind of get prepared for having to deal with that. However, it's also true for other alternatives. So what else are you going to do? You want to do a front-end stack? Well, guess what? You're going to have to learn a lot. And not only that, in the front-end stack, the things that you have to learn keeps changing all the time. So you have, I would say, more to learn in terms of that. There are other fields as well, like data science, AI. Like it's a part of any field that you get into, right? The longer you spend in that field, the more you're going to have to specialize, the more you're going to have to learn. So it's a given, no matter what you learn. So don't shy away from there being a lot of things to learn. That's a part of learning and a part of being a professional. Okay, observe a huge drop in Java developer demand. I'm from the country Georgia. I used to get offers from recruiters on LinkedIn very often. What you're observing right now, like, I don't know how it is in your country, but what I'm guessing is you're experiencing a reduction in the number of open positions at this time. There are a bunch of things that have caused this. One is the economic conditions around the world. There are lesser job openings right now. It's kind of like a rebound effect from the the Great Resignation that happened a year and a half ago. And the second thing is it's the holiday season. So things eventually slow down at this point. So I think you're right in that the job offers have reduced, but I disagree that it's Java specific. I think it's happening across the board. I have been working as a Java support role. I want my spare time to get some gigs as Java dev roles. Your advice? Well, I don't know much about getting gigs as a freelancer. I'll be honest, I'm not qualified to answer that. I've been doing full-time work all my life, really. I don't think I've ever freelanced. So I don't think I can answer that question. Apart from the very generic, just get better at it and you will get jobs. There are a lot of freelancing websites which allow you to freelance. I'm going to have to move my hand like this because it's right here. There are a few gigs, websites which allow you to do these freelancing gigs. But most of them, I would imagine, are front-end based. I don't think there are a lot of Java freelancing gigs that you can get from a website. A lot of Java freelancing gigs comes from referrals and having known people in the industry who trust you. I'm working as a Java backend developer. Should I get into a full stack role? No, you shouldn't. Well, you don't have to. You can if you want. I'm not going to stop you, but you don't have to. It's a different ballgame. I incidentally made a video about exactly this, I think a week or so ago, 1.5 weeks ago. So go check out my channel. I kind of have like a video essay explaining the pros and cons of sticking to backend versus going full stack. I think that video is going to do a better job explaining this than anything that I can do right now. What is the best source to learn Spring microservices? I would say the Spring website has good documentation. There are these learn links This is true for any Spring project. You go to the Spring website, the Spring project, they come with a very comprehensive user manual, right? There is a PDF, there are HTML files as well. They kind of walk you through everything that you need to know. You don't have to learn everything like page 1 to page n, but kind of dive into the key areas that you're interested in and start building stuff. That should be a good way to start. I have content out there for Spring microservices. You got to plug yourself, right? They're old, but they still do the job of explaining you the concepts. So what I usually recommend is go watch tutorials that kind of cover a high-level overview of what Spring microservices are about and kind of dive into the manual for the details. There are a lot more questions here. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to pick questions that I find interesting because I have to pick. There are a lot of them. So if I don't pick your questions, please don't feel bad. It's nothing personal. How do I get out of tutorial hell and find a job? Oh man, this is such a good question. Thank you for asking this. I think what we do as human beings is we try to creatively avoid what we should do. I do that all the time. Like, for example, I have to do a job which I don't like doing. I find creative reasons not to do it. I think tutorial hell is basically creative avoidance of doing the hard work, which is participatory, where you have to sit and code, where you have to troubleshoot issues that you encounter. Watching tutorials is easier because somebody else is teaching. You sit back and relax, right? So when we don't like to do something that we should do, we come up with creative reasons. It's literally called creative avoidance. It's a psychological behavior that we all go through. A good way of creative avoidance in terms of doing stuff is to have this in the back of your mind that, okay, I'm going to learn everything there is to learn, and then I'm going to become an expert, and then I'm going to start writing my first Java code or Spring Boot application. And then because of all the knowledge that I have, everything is going to be seamless. Like I'm going to know exactly what to do. I'm going to really, ace that application. It's going to be the best. The sad reality is that's not the case. A lot of learning comes from actually building your applications. So no matter how long you're going to be in this tutorial hell, it is actually not going to help you. And while it is a tutorial hell, when you look at it from outside, while you're there, it is a comfort area. It is tutorial heaven for you because it's going to, in your mind, it's keeping you away from the actual hell, which is coding hell. However, tutorial hell/heaven is not good for you. Coding hell/heaven is actually good for you long term. Okay, so it's, kind of realize that that's what your brain is doing, that you're trying to avoid doing the thing, right? And as long as you do that, you're going to be like, okay, you have to learn, of course. You have to watch tutorials. I'm a tutorial maker. I would never say don't watch tutorials. I do that for a reason because a lot of people do the other way. They just do what they need to do, right? Learn only what's necessary to get the job done, and they never get the big picture. It's always important to strike the balance. So watch tutorials for a little bit, get the big picture, then go implement, and watch tutorials along with it so you can kind of complement both of those. All right. Does Java have a good future to build career in? Yes. I think enough said. I'm a Java developer. What new can I learn now to make myself upgrade in the market? Just be good at building applications, practical Java. It goes back to go out of tutorial hell and actually build stuff. Learn how to build an application end to end, and that should get you in a good spot in the market. How relevant the future of Java is in an age of ML and AI? Java is still going to be relevant for a couple of reasons. One is that it is still the language of choice for building backend applications. I don't think any other language has come close to the demand, the popularity, and the size of the user base. Also, give me just a second. I'm going to open the windows a little bit here. All right. I think Java is still the most popular in terms of the adoption in the backend. And also, AI and ML are going to be what I think are horizontals in the software engineering practice. Right now, there is a lot of momentum for AI and ML, and for good reason, right? We're breaking new ground. We're building things that people have never conceived of before. But I think as the industry matures, AI and ML is going to be a thing that everybody needs to use rather than everybody needs to develop. There's only so many models that you can build, at least with the current way of doing things. Most software developers are going to be users of AI and ML. For example, you need to be able to know how to leverage language models in order to write code, in order to understand code and improve your code. Sometimes you might even have to leverage language models in order to learn new technologies. So keep that in mind. Not just because it's popular now doesn't mean that everybody has to work on it. You just have to be using it. So popularity of Java is independent of the progress that's happening in AI and ML. They seem to have their own separate niches. And AI and ML is something that we should all, as developers, pay attention to, learn what's going on, but then also be comfortable using it and applying it. All right, 3-year Spring Boot developer working in an MNC. I think I'm good at this, but all this AI, ML, web. Okay, similar question and a similar answer. Web is related, but again, web has always had a kind of a momentum going for it. If you want to switch, you can switch to any of these things, right? If you want to switch to AI and ML, for sure, it's a promising career there. But don't do it because you have fear of missing out, because I don't think that's a good way to do this. All right. 10 years of not working IT. I'm good at Java, Spring microservices. Is it possible to join IT company? Yeah, I think if you're good at interviewing, if you can convince your prospective employer that you can solve their problems, not just learning Java Spring, right? If you can tell them that you can solve their problems, you can build applications to solve their problems, you're going to be good. That's really all you need to do. All right. Your thoughts about AI tools such as ChatGPT, how programmers utilize these tools better. I knew, like when I was scheduling this thing in the morning, I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, about 90% of these questions are going to be about AI, isn't it? It's about ChatGPT, it's about language models. I'm not surprised, and it's fair. All your questions are very fair. So I guess I'm glad I'm able to answer with my perspective. This may not be the correct perspective or the ideal perspective, but I can only share what I know and believe. So first of all, my thoughts about tools like ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT is a language model, right? It is a model which predicts language. And code is a kind of a language. It's not a human language. It's a machine language. Fair enough. We kind of leverage that. And as a result, these language models are great at helping people write code, right? When it comes to a conversation, I think all of these language models have come pretty close to almost a human being, right? You ask a language model, okay, I have this problem, I need to solve it. It is able to effectively convert it into code. You can tell it, I'm stuck with this problem. How do I write code in Python or Java to solve it? It's going to do a good job, right? It is not going to guarantee to be compilable. There's still a gap there, right? If that gap is crossed, then we don't need a human being to take that and convert it into, compilable and runnable code. So right now there is still this human involved who asks the question to the large language model. It gives back code, and the human tweaks it. Often the human has to tweak it, considering the level of maturity that these language models have today. The human tweaks it and then incorporates it and pushes it into source control, right? I see a couple of things happening in the future. I see this interaction happen a lot more. Okay, we are going to be using language models a lot. We're going to be asking questions of it a lot, and we're going to be interacting with it a lot. Secondly, I think there are certain problems where the human is not going to be there in the second step. Okay, so for example, I asked large language model to do something. The model does it. For certain problems, there is going to be enough guarantee that the model is going to do a good job, that the human doesn't have to copy, paste it, compile it, and run it, right? I believe that part can also be handled. There are ways in which you can make sure that code compiles, runs fine, tests fine, and it automatically deploys it. But I feel like that first step, where the human asks the question to begin with, I think that step is going to stay for a long period of time. Okay, because at least with the way I see the models working, we are not mature enough for the model to figure out what to do and then do it and then go all the way through. It can do a part of it, and then it depends on a human to do the rest. That's not very efficient. The most efficient way is the human asks the question, the model does something, and then it goes ahead and does it, or have a human intervene and tweak it a little bit before it goes to production and affects something else. So as a result, I feel like tools such as ChatGPT are going to be another developer experience tools. We are going to use it as a part of a developer experience. We are not at a place where a product manager can use a large language model and get something delivered, right? So what we need to do as developers is to learn how to prompt these language models so that it can help us and make us more efficient, write better code, and learn better code. So it's all about thinking. Just anytime you're working on something, think, is there something that I can do with a large language model like ChatGPT to help me in this process? Because that prompting is going to be there for a while. So keep that in mind. Try to get better at doing that. Could you please share good resources for system design concepts? I know that there are a bunch of blogs that I think ByteByteGo is pretty popular. I refer to that a few times. I don't read them often, but I have seen that they have like newsletters. The creator posts on LinkedIn often. That's a really good resource. I'm working on some content for system design. I don't know when it'll be ready, but when it gets ready, of course, I'm going to plug my own content and say that's the best. But until then, I think ByteByteGo is a good option. "11 years experience, and now most requirements are for full stack, but I'm a backend developer, so how can I start to learn?" I don't think you have to go to full stack in order to get a job. For 11 years of experience, as long as you have enough backend knowledge to justify your level of experience, I think you're going to be fine. You will be able to land a job. It's all about proving to your prospective employer. I keep saying this: proving to your prospective employer that you can solve their problems. Right? Not even how good you know Java or what coding challenge you can solve. That's necessary. Those are ways in which the manager answers that question. The key question is, can this person solve my problems? Right? So it's about how effectively you can prove to the prospective employer in an interview. All right, Bali checking in. Is that really as cool of a place? I've never been to Bali. I've been told that it is like one of those heaven on earth places. Is it really the case? Hello from India. Hello from Germany. Hello, folks. Thank you for joining. Welcome. How can cloud, AWS, elevate my career after working only 5 years in Java backend? I think cloud is a skill that you will eventually have to learn because a lot of backend is now on the cloud. A lot of people don't do on-prem a lot unless there are some serious security concerns or worries that they're dealing with. So cloud is a way for you to manifest the work that you have done, make it available for people, deploy. So it's a good thing to know, at least as an application developer. It's a good thing to know what you need to do to make an application deployed online on one of these cloud services. At the bare minimum, you need to do that. For 5 years experience, I would say be aware of the cloud technologies that are adjacent to the technologies that you're building an application with. After that, you can expand to other stuff, but you need to be able to kind of go end to end, right? Deploy it somewhere, give somebody the URL. Are you able to do that? If you can, then you have good enough cloud knowledge to begin with. Till what age can you be in core technical area, like a tech architect? This is from an Indian perspective. I'm from Bangalore. I think there is some amount of it which is location and geography dependent. So I think that's what you're implying from the India perspective. I think product companies have a much better leeway in terms of how long somebody works in tech. If you're in a product company, you can specialize in tech. You have roles where you're building architecture, you're deploying, taking control of the whole application architecture and all the way up to a CTO. I think for most people, after a point, especially in India, I believe, I think there's more of an Asian thing. I think after a certain point, people feel like if you're not a manager, you're not doing a good enough job, right? And the reason for that is, in a lot of these organizations, the only role which has a sizable impact at that point will be managerial. Okay, just the way they have structured the organization. There's only, like, when you hit the ceiling for a tech role, the impact stops there, right? If you want to increase your experience, as your experience grows, your impact needs to grow as well. And the tech ceiling is going to prevent you from making further impact. In order to increase your impact, you will have no choice but to switch to the managerial role. Okay, so as a result, if you're in one of those companies, you're kind of forced to make the switch. The key here is your work impact needs to be in accordance with your level of experience and in accordance with the salary that you draw. If the highest technical role is limiting you from making more impact, then you either have to switch to managerial role or find another job. I feel like in a lot of Indian consulting companies, this is true. Okay, the developers, the individual contributors, are treated like a resource that are allocated to different projects and managed, right? Which means that there's only so much impact or authority that a technical resource has. At some point, if you want more authority, if you want more impact, you have to switch to managerial. So it really depends on the company, but often in consulting companies, you will have to switch to managerial. I would say about 15 years, 20 years would be pushing it. After 20 years, you really shouldn't be in tech in one of those companies. Again, look for impact rather than a specific hard-coded age. Greetings from Trivandrum. Hand waving right here. Do you think Java could be useful for someone getting into DevOps? Sure, why not? You can use Java in addition to some other languages. Like Python is a popular choice for DevOps because it's useful for scripting. So I would say Java is a good second language. I wouldn't make it primary. Use Java when you're doing application development and not DevOps. DevOps has a dev to it associated with it, so you're going to have to learn all of those associated technologies as well. I see a similar question that I've answered before. I don't think it's about backend roles decreasing. I think it's a kind of like a universal phenomenon that we are seeing right now with low jobs, number of jobs are a little less. Pune, India, welcome. How to successfully transition to a career? I think it starts out with whether you're transitioning to a different job stream in the same company or you're switching companies. If you're switching to a different area of expertise or a job stream in the same company, I would say start by doing some work, right? Take some free time, express interest in the other person who's doing that job. Say, for example, let's say I want to get into data science, right? What I would do is I would not switch jobs right away and say, I'm going to study data science, I'm going to watch 100 tutorials. I wouldn't probably do that. What I would do is find people who are doing data science in my current company, and I'm going to talk to them. I'll tell them, hey, show me what you're doing, right? Take them out for coffee and like explain to me what your day is like. What do you do? What are the good things? What are the bad things, right? Talk to people and find out about their job. And once you do that, you can ask them, hey, can I do this for you, right? I want to push a PR, like I want to make a small change. Let me help you out, right? So pick small jobs and do it for them. You're going to have to do it in your own spare time, of course, because your manager wouldn't support you switching another thing. Do these small things and see if you like it. You may not like it, right? It's kind of like a trial period for you. And well, if you like it, take it a little more seriously and speak to your manager and tell them, hey, I want to do this a little seriously. Can I invest a part of my time doing this? Because it is in service of the company, right? You're not taking time off to learn for yourself. You are hoping, in this process, you're hoping to deliver value to your company. So ask your manager, can I do 10% of my job in this thing and then do it? And gradually, you can let the momentum take over. And the shift is going to happen. If you have been following these steps that I've described, it's going to automatically happen. If you want to transition to a career which is completely away from what you're doing and then nobody in your company is even doing it, then I would be very, very cautious. I would talk to many, many more people because it is a more disruptive change. So you have to be careful and do this the right way. How to switch from developer to architect role, how to get rid of the anxiety when encountered with thought problems. Switching from developer to the architect role, strangely enough, is very similar to what I just talked about. Talk to architects in your company. Ask them what they do and why they do what they do. And once you understand, ask them if you can be involved in some conversations. Right? Tell them, I'm just going to watch. You're having a meeting. There's some project going on. Is it okay if I watch and listen in on your meetings? Right? Read design docs. Right? And as you read them, you'll probably get an idea. Right? Talk to your architect and say, hey, can we do this instead? Right? Or why did you choose to do this instead of that? You're going to have to be nice to them because you are basically taking some of their time. But hopefully you work in an organization where it is okay for you to do that. If the architect is being mean, then probably find another architect to talk to. Usually architects are nice people. So try and do that and see if you can kind of get your foot in the door, right? And what ends up happening, this is true for the other career change thing as well, right? What ends up happening is when you get involved in the thing that you want to switch to, right? You kind of become present in people's consciousness. When something comes up where they need someone, your name comes to mind, okay? And they're going to go, hey, Sandeep was interested in this. Let's ask him if he has some bandwidth to do this, or let's ask him if he wants to participate. There is always a need for more people, more help, right? So it's kind of like your way to get your foot in the door and be there. And even if the opportunity doesn't materialize, you have learned a lot. You've learned about architecture, right? So that's going to be helpful. And also, which should solve your anxiety problem as well. You shouldn't be anxious if you do this enough times, right? You're getting involved there. So that should be a good way to do it. I want to talk a little bit about anxiety, okay? People usually have anxiety when they're lacking skill. When there's a concept called the flow state, which I find really fascinating. You're trying to do something, right? So let's say you have a task and you're trying to accomplish the task. Then you have skills to accomplish the task, and your skills are much, much more than what the task requires. So you're an expert and the task is very, very basic. You're going to feel boredom, right? Because the task is not fit for your level, wherever you're at. And at the same time, if the task that you're expected to do is much harder, requires a higher skill level than what you have, you're going to experience anxiety. Okay? So when you have anxiety, you're expected to do something, you have anxiety, that means you need to level up your skill. So start learning more, start practicing more, get involved in this stuff. And this is true for any kind of new thing that you have to learn, right? Or even in the thing that you're already learning, you're already doing, you have, let's say you're a good Java developer, but there is a Java problem which is challenging for you. You get anxiety. So what do? You have to level up your skill. Advice for freshers, which skills are a must-have? Unfortunately, the skills that are essential for freshers are communication skills, the ability to see the impact and the big picture, and dedication. Those are essential, right? It's persistence and dedication. Communication skills, you should be able to communicate with anyone, be able to talk to anyone, and convey your points. See the big picture. Somebody gives you a job, you need to know why you're doing it, right? Of course, you're saying freshers. I'm assuming that you're talking about people who haven't got a job and you're searching for a job. Even then, whatever you're doing, see the big picture in it. Find out why you're doing something rather than just be a task executor. And thirdly, you need to be dedicated. You need to be persistent. As long as you have those, the technology itself doesn't matter. As long as you apply it to whatever technology you have, you're going to succeed. I have a question. Now, ChatGPT came along as its impact on Java developers after 3 to 5 years, because now starting layoff web designer, the company will keep one web designer. I don't think that's true for web designers either right now. Like, it is impacted and web designers are expected to perform faster, but I don't think it is a cause for massive layoffs yet. It's even more not likely to be a cause for massive layoffs for Java developers, because I think when you're at 3 to 5 years level of experience, you should be more than just a code writer. You should be a solution provider. This is something that I've been telling you from in my streams from, I think, the past 5-6 years, right? And it still holds good. Our job as engineers is to create solutions to solve problems. And at this point, ChatGPT can answer our questions. It cannot solve problems that are out there unless you break the problem down and ask it questions. So in the future, what's going to happen? I have no idea. But at this point, with 3 to 5 years of experience, I would say be strong in your Java skills and framework skills, and learn how to leverage ChatGPT effectively, so that when you ask ChatGPT a question and it answers you, you have strong Java skills to make sure that that is good code and it works for what you're trying to do and not just a copy-paste thing. If your job requires copy-pasting code, then probably you will feel threatened by ChatGPT. But if not, if you're thinking of yourself as a problem solver, I don't think we need to be worried about ChatGPT taking our jobs yet. There was somebody who said, you'd be worried more about a developer using ChatGPT who might go for your job rather than ChatGPT itself taking your job. And I think that's still valid today. Does Java Spring Boot have a good future to build a career in? Yes, it is. Java is the predominantly used language for backend, and Spring Boot is the predominantly used framework when building Java backends. So it's like you're picking the most popular of the most popular. I don't think you have to worry about those going away anytime soon. Hyderabad, India, welcome. Right now, is it Java or Python? Which one is more demand? Or also is Python the future? Both have demands, both have their own niches. I don't think either of them is going to replace another at this point. We never know. Java might encroach the AI space in the future. But at this point, all this mileage that Python is getting is purely because of language models, really. And perhaps other AI technologies, but mostly language models and deep learning. So like I mentioned before, you need to be aware of this, but as a user rather than somebody who works on language models and AI, if you're a user, you don't have to learn Python, right? You can still work with Java and use language models to answer your Java questions. So think of it that way. 5.5 years experience Java developer. You want to crack your product-based companies. What should I do? You need to be able to demonstrate that you can build good products. So applied Java. Frameworks aren't that important for product-based companies. You need to be able to prove that you're a good developer and you can solve problems. It's like you see how these same themes come across again and again. It's like the fundamental premise. As long as you get that basic premise that you're an engineer, you're solving problems, and you need to solve the problem for wherever you're going, right? If you're joining a consultancy, your problem is going to be, well, how can you join in? Like, what are the problems that they're expecting you to solve? You need to be able to go into a vendor, get into their code base, understand what frameworks they're using, and immediately deliver value, right? If you're going for a product role, you need to be able to come up with innovative ideas, come up with solutions to problems, and be good, really, really good at coding. So those are the things that you need to think about. Product-based FANG companies, sadly, again, it's the same thing. Demonstrate that you're good at coding. So this involves lead code. This involves being able to communicate well, which is another thing which you need to do. And system design interviews, again, not so much if you're a student and you're just getting into the industry, but try to at least know a little bit about it. I just find this funny. I know what you meant, but it's amazing. I'm guessing it's autocorrect. It's funny how the autocorrect, whenever autocorrect comes up with a new meaning, which makes adds a different context to the sentence. I love it, and this is what's happening here. It's not Project Doom, hopefully, it's Project Loom. And how will it change concurrency in Java? It is going to make things very, very different for certain kinds of applications. For example, virtual threads are a huge game changer for web applications. You can, right now, I think with Spring 3.2, you can stick a property in a properties file and basically convert all of your threads to virtual, just one chart, right? Which is a very bad idea, by the way. You shouldn't do that. Not all threads should be virtual, but it is possible. And I love that a popular framework like Spring is kind of going in and saying, we are adopting virtual threads. We are adopting Java 21, right? They're just in. They're like, I think they feel a bit of a responsibility to push the Java community forward from Java 8, which we have been stuck with for so long. I was almost going to use a profanity there. So I think it's great that the a popular framework like Spring is doing it. So other frameworks are going to follow suit, and virtual threads are going to be a very useful addition to your knowledge. For the most part, though, when you're doing backend application development, you don't do threading, right? You don't spin up new threads. It's all the framework that's handling it underneath. So for those kind of applications, I don't see an immediate impact. You're not going to change the way you build stuff. You're probably going to kind of have that switch once in a while where you go like, okay, I want this part to be virtual, this part to be not. And the way the virtual threads have been rolled out in Java, it makes it very easy to switch. But apart from that, I think for the most part, application developers, it won't impact the immediate future, at least. If you are working on concurrency and that's your bread and butter, then it is going to have a radical impact. But those, I would say, are in the minority. Not a lot of people do that. All right. 11 years in IT, mostly cloud profile. Is it better to stick to cloud platform, continue growing in it, or also expand to opportunities in AI and ML? It really depends on what you enjoy doing. Both of them have a good future. So just do what really makes sense for you, what you like doing. Don't go by career prospects because they all have good career prospects. All right, I got to look at there's one super chat over here. Thank you so much, Saurabh. There's one more. Thank you so much, Aditya. Appreciate the support. All right. For 4 years, you should be able to switch. That's fine. The first 4 or 5 years is the sampling period. You enter the industry not knowing anything, right? The first 4 or 5 years, you need to explore, try different things. Even if you're working on one thing, look at a few other things and see what's going on in the other areas. And after that, you should be able to switch. You don't hesitate to switch. Even if you're like 10, 12 years experience, you can switch streams. Not a problem. Okay. Wow, you have spammed my chat, my friend. I see like 7 or 8 comments. Please don't do that. I don't do moderation because I trust you folks are going to behave. Please don't paste the same comments again and again. What IDE to recommend to learn Spring Boot? STS or Eclipse? I would say IntelliJ free version. IntelliJ Community Edition is good enough. And you don't really need a specific IDE that's going to help you learn. I wonder if this is the question, which is, again, the creative avoidance thing that I talked about earlier. The IDE doesn't matter, Amol. Pick whatever IDE and start learning. If you're waiting for the perfect IDE to start, it's never going to happen. Pick whatever. Eclipse is fine. All right, pick it and use it. It's okay. Big fan. Thank you. A 6-year-old Java developer. Man, they're teaching Java pretty early. I'm guessing you're not a 6-year-old. Please forgive my poor sense of humor. You should ask my friends. They're sick of this now. As a 6-year Java developer, should I follow the current famous AI, ML, prompt, etc. technologies and pursue them? I think I've already answered this. If you have not caught it, rewind and watch the stream. I've covered exactly what you need to do. But the short answer is you don't need to now. Java microservice developer, last 4 years, I feel comfortable developing microservices, but I'm not aware what are the career paths I can look forward to. What are the options? You're going to be an individual contributor in a microservice application, working for a company. And after you have done that for a while, you're going to move to an architect role where you're going to design these microservices and influence how they're built and talk to each other. And further, you can move towards a solution architect role or a cloud architect role where you look at how the microservices evolve to the big picture solution or how they get deployed on the cloud, how they leverage cloud technology. So those are multiple directions you can go. Tutorials have helped me a lot in my career. It has helped me to start my own channel and blog. Dhanyavadagalu. Well, thank you so much for letting me know. It's always nice when I hear things like this. And this is something that I encourage everybody to do. I am a much better developer now than I was before because I taught people. And this is apart from the YouTube channel, right? I like to teach, and teaching gives me an opportunity to learn things better myself. So always try to give back, try to help someone else, and you grow in the process as well. Kotlin versus Java. What about it? They're two different languages. The Spring team seems to be a little bit Kotlin heavy these days. I have no idea where that's coming from, but I've noticed some of the Spring developer advocates doing a lot of Kotlin. I'm hoping it's just something that I happen to notice and it's not reality. But as far as the industry is concerned, they're both used. I would say Java is used much more than Kotlin. So if you want to switch to Kotlin, you may, but Java is almost essential knowledge. So don't switch to Kotlin at the expense of Java knowledge. Always be strong in Java. That's kind of like the bread and butter. Range queries and Tombstone. I'm going to skip this one because this is this is supposed to be career themed. I've just been answering tech questions, so I'm going to switch to career, right? I'm a Java developer, but due to recursion, again, I'm guessing it's a recession, I have joined a company as a .NET developer. In the future, if I'm selected as a Java developer backend, 1 year of .NET experience, will it be acceptable? Again, it depends on how you position it. If you position it as you build solutions and demonstrate impact, and at the same time show that you are good at Java, you're going to be fine. All that the company cares about is if you can solve their problems. As long as you can do that, it's fine. You can tell them, hey, I worked for 1 year in .NET, I solved their problems. They were happy with me. Now, what problems do you have? I can solve it for you, right? That should be your attitude. And don't use those words, but you get what I mean, right? So as long as you can demonstrate that you can solve problems and show that you have solved problems in the past, you're good. Pursuing my master's in the US, focused on distributed systems. I've been getting rejections for almost all summer 2024 internships I'm applying for. Any advice? Well, it is a rough time right now. People aren't taking internships. I have circumstantial evidence, but it is evidence nonetheless. Things are a little bit slow. So keep that in mind and have a backup plan of either trying to, I don't know, the problem with backup is like even that all those backup plans are affected by kind of things being a little slow right now. I would say try and find I don't know, with internships it's tricky. Can you, I don't know if you can replace it with personal projects. This may not be ideal, but replacing it with personal projects or maybe volunteering for some things might help. This is a tricky question, my friend. I don't have an answer to this because first of all, I'm not in that internship space. And I understand that the challenges that we have today are kind of like makes it doubly hard for you. All I can say is keep trying, keep applying at scale, and keep networking. Because with the current job market, like since everybody can apply everywhere, everybody is applying everywhere. So it's like when you apply to something, it's like it just goes into a black hole. Try and network. Try and find someone who can hook you up with something. But that's really all I can say. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer to that. What would be a career path for a 50-ish guy who wants to get into development field, who has never programmed before? Reason for switch, opportunities and money. I think you're going to face some amount of ageism in the industry. I have, again, heard from people who have experienced this, which is very unfortunate. You're not supposed to be discriminated by this, but discriminations are sadly there. So there is going to be this dissonance in people's mind when they see you and they kind of implicitly expect you to be like an architect position, and you go, well, no, I'm a fresher, I'm starting new, right? So some of the traditional channels that you normally go through might be affected by this bias, right? By this discrimination that people are going to have towards you. If they see two resumes where one person is fresh out of college and you are the other person, be prepared for people having that bias and it not working out in your favor. I'm not saying that's right. In fact, that's very, very wrong. But I'm just saying that's the sad part of the world we live in, right? And the sooner you prepare for that, the better, right? How do you prepare for that? First is to make sure that that doesn't affect you, right? And it doesn't discourage you. And the second thing is you need to go through like a networking channel rather than applying where like everybody else is applying, right? Because your resume is going to stand out perhaps for the wrong reasons when you take typical channels. So if you know somebody who is in the industry, ask them to refer you and say, hey, here is a person who I know and I trust that he is a good developer, but he is a 50-ish guy, like you said, and he is not the conventional candidate, but I want you to give him a try because he's good, right? And as long as you can justify that you can solve the company's problem, that should be your way in, right? And the only reason I'm saying that is because of your unique position. It kind of gives the people you interact with kind of like a head start in terms of what they can expect from you so that those biases don't come in, hopefully, if that makes sense. So you can do it as long as you're committed and passionate about it. Yes, there are more opportunities in the development field, but just be mindful of this. Cupertino, California. Well, you're my neighbor. I'm in the area. Thank you for your comment. Super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that you've watched the videos. I haven't done a lot recently, but I have a good amount of stuff coming. So please stay tuned and please keep watching, learning, and supporting me. Currently learning Java Spring. There's a lot of talk about Java jobs reducing in the near future. Should I pursue the path of Java Spring career? What's your opinion on this? Who talks about Java jobs reducing? Ask them to contact me. I want to know. Writing Spring Boot web apps on Groovy, is it a good idea? No, don't use Groovy. Groovy isn't groovy. It's, I wouldn't even do Scala instead of Groovy. I don't know if have you tried Groovy? Any of you folks have tried Groovy, let me know in the comments. I found it to be good so Groovy is Java ecosystem's answer to Python and JavaScript, right? They needed something which is loose and fast and easier to script in. I don't think it's a good idea for enterprise applications, which is the Spring Boot web applications domain. So I would say Kotlin or Java, or even Scala if you want to build it in, but Groovy is not a good idea. Hey Kaushik, how are you? I'm doing well, thanks for asking. How AI and ML will affect the Java world? Rewind, my friend. I've already answered this question. Are you from India? Your accent doesn't sound though. Well, I am from India, and I have often been accused of putting on a fake accent. This is not a fake accent. This is the result of being in the US for what now? 13 years, 13, 14 years I've been in the US. Accents change. I think there is a tendency to make accent a part of your identity, just a way you speak. It's not a part of your identity. There are other things which define your identity. This wasn't conscious. I didn't start putting on a fake accent and end up with this accent. It just so happens, right? You can go to a different country and speak there for 15 years and you're going to pick up that accent. It's just the way it works. So yeah, I am from India. I spent the first 25 years of my life in a suburban town in Bangalore, South India, very middle-class Indian upbringing. I've just been in the US for 13 to 14 years now, and accents change. Is the era of agile expectation of rapid app development, in this era of agile expectation of rapid app development, it's resulting in tech debt. Do you see this as going to major problem? Agile process is burning out most people. Opinion, suggestion. That is true, and it also depends on the company's culture. Agile is so fluid and so differently interpreted by different people that if you ask two Scrum Masters what Agile is, you're going to get two different answers. I was going to say three different answers, but out of respect, I'm going to say two. Out of respect for the Scrum Master friends I have, or they're going to have choice words to say at me for slacking them off in a YouTube live stream. I think Agile is tailored to different companies' convenience based on what their values are. Agile as such does not indicate fast speed. It indicates flexibility, not fast speed. The reason why there are a lot of decisions, right? Smaller sprints. Why? Because you can flexibly change directions soon. Communication. Why? Because when there is a communication gap, you can very flexibly change directions soon, right? It's more about flexibility, not rigidity. That's kind of like the core of Agile. But people have kind of taken things like sprint quite literally. You're sprinting, all right, you got to sprint. You got to go faster. That's not the way it is. Sprint is a small portion of a marathon. Our work is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's more culture than Agile. If you are in a company where the culture is pushing you towards burning out, you have two options: exert your influence and push back. And especially if you are like a team lead or a tech lead, speak up and push back. If your culture doesn't facilitate you raising your voice and pushing back, or if you fear adverse impact of raising your voice and pushing back, you should find another job. Because again, your health is more important. You are in for the marathon, not a sprint. And the longer you spend in the industry, the more years of experience you have, the more you begin to value work-life balance over salary packets and promotions and titles and all that stuff, right? So just keep that in mind. And in terms of tech debt, yeah, that's very common. I think it's going to be more now because of AI, right? People are going to copy-paste ChatGPT responses, which results in huge tech debt. And I think that's a huge opportunity for people who are really serious about it. In a world where everybody is copy-pasting ChatGPT responses, the real programming rock stars are those who understand the technology and not rely on ChatGPT for everything. Keep that in mind. Oh man, I feel so old now. Your spring course helped my dad get a job, and now it's my turn. Thank you. I feel both good. I mean, this is one of the best comments I've got. It's like I'm your family's teacher. This is awesome, but at the same time, I feel so old. I've taught your dad, and now I'm teaching you. I don't look so old, do I? I'm still young at heart, okay? Just keep that in mind. Thank you for your comment, though. This is really sweet. This is I'm going to treasure this because this doesn't happen too often. This kind of a comment doesn't happen too often, let alone the thing itself. So thank you for writing this. You've made so much impact in my career. Thanks for the efforts. Thank you so much for writing. It's comments like this that keep me going. Please make video on tips and tricks, common mistakes on maps. Just like for a hash set you made. Yes, I'm going to keep making more of those. Create a project from a tutorial and I learned a lot from it. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is what you should do. Write code and follow a tutorial, or learn from a tutorial and write code. Don't use learning as a way of creative avoidance of doing. The best learning comes from doing. The courses that I'm going to make is so that you are not completely stuck. You have the bigger picture so that you know exactly how to learn what you need to do, right? The true learning comes only when you're doing. I have a few Code With Me series, and I've seen people watch that and not code. It's like, it literally says Code With Me. So kudos for working on the project and doing this along with watching. I encourage everybody to do this. Please do this. You have to write code. That's the only way you learn. You don't learn swimming from reading a textbook. Thanks for the channel. Could you guide me and others with a roadmap for interview preparation? 9 years experienced back-end developer here. So at a high level, I can't get into the details here. At a high level, it is about first, have a strong sense of what impact you've delivered in your current company. That's like the key, right? Even if you bomb in technical interviews, if you can convey that you've demonstrated impact, that's great. So find ways to demonstrate that impact. It could be stories, things that happened, things that got screwed up in your company and how you were the superhero and you saved the day, right? Pick nuggets of those stories. If things like that haven't happened, work harder and make those things happen, right? It's not about drinking the company Kool-Aid and being the employee of the month or whatever, right? It is about you proving your worth for yourself and developing the confidence. The more you do that, the more you feel confident in yourself, and the story carries much more weight, and you can demonstrate to your future employers as well that you have that ability. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, be good at the technologies that you have already worked in. Okay, be good at that. Be good at the frameworks that you already worked in. Whatever you have on your resume, be confident that you can answer questions for those frameworks and for those technologies. Third, learn lead code. Sadly, most companies do this now, especially because the things have slowed down. Most companies ask for lead code questions, so just learn lead code, okay? And probably the fourth one is, how many years did you say? 9 years, I would say learn some system design as well. They will say design a Facebook or design YouTube or whatever. Learn what are the components it takes to do that. High-level roadmap. Hope that helps. I'm a backend developer with 5, I think, years of experience. I'm not liking my job. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy coding and like solving lead code. Wait, what? You like solving lead code? Mock surprise there. I'm a bad actor. But yeah, it's uncommon, let's say. I always wanted to pursue management. Your thoughts on getting an MBA and switch? 5 years of experience. You can get an MBA, that should be fine. Like you're not, it's not like you're 10, 15 years of experience. This would be a good time to kind of take a break, study, and then switch. This is only if you really hate your job, because there is a good career progression where you can work in technology for a few more years, right? Let's say 5 more years, and then switch to management, right? It's a common career progression. So if you don't want to do that and you want to switch right away, then yeah, studying is a good option. You tend to land better jobs after management if you are studying in a good college, university, and if you have good credentials. The disadvantage of doing this especially if you're going to do management MBA and come back to the software development space, is you're going to be one of those managers who are totally out of touch with technology. Okay, I worked with a few of those, and it's not pleasant. You're going to work with engineers who are very well versed in technology, and you're going to be completely out of touch. And at that point, you either have to get into technology so that you understand what they're talking about, and none of your engineers are BSing you about something, or you need to have a high level of trust, and you need to work in a team which has a good culture, right? So I would say start out with trying to understand why you don't like your job. You say you enjoy coding and you like solving lead code, which is very weird. But even if you like doing it, if you like coding, why don't you like your job? What is it about your job that you hate? Is it solvable by going to another company, right? Is it the employer that's the problem, right? Think about that. And if you feel like you are going to have the same problem no matter where you go, then yeah, perhaps switch to an MBA and try to get something a little higher up than interfacing with immediate tech people, because you're going to be out of touch, right? Hopefully after an MBA, you're going to be in a position where you're going to have a middle manager who's going to interface with the tech folks, and you're going to be interacting with those middle managers, and it should be okay. Been a GCP professional for 6 years, but always wanted to move to dev, knowing that I probably need to take a junior position. Is it a good career move? It should be fine for 6 years. Again, 5 to 6 years, I would say, is the sampling period. You can justify your... See, the first job that you get, it's never in your control. Okay, nobody takes their first job in the software industry saying, okay, I'm going to look at this technology and this technology. This one has better career prospects. This one I like a lot because it's my career path. So I'm going to take that. No. Never happens, right? What usually happens is, I don't have a job. I search. Oh, finally got a job, right? That's everybody's introduction to the software industry, right? Unless you're one of those gifted people. So you cannot be faulted for the first 4 years of your career for working in a field which you don't want to do for the rest of your life. You can always say, I tried this, I have done my job, right? I've earned my salary by delivering impact, but now I want to switch there, right? Nobody is going to have objections. This is the time to switch. This is the time to sample different things. Don't worry about it. It is, if you're interested in development and if you like doing it, go for it. All right, another AI question. Rewind and watch. I've covered AI already. Thank you for your contributions. You're welcome. I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts on rapid growth inside a small company? Could the high roles in early years of a career affect future career? I don't think it affects future career. In fact, it might help you if you can justify the position. I've interviewed a couple of people who've called themselves CTOs, but they weren't able to answer questions that I asked them, right? Even a question that a principal engineer should be able to answer. So the thing is, if you're working for something like a startup, the employer or the interviewer doesn't know what the culture is, right? Doesn't know what those labels mean. You could call yourself senior, principal, distinguished engineer. That's what the company gives you. What does it mean, right? If you're a principal engineer in Google, people know what they mean, right? What that means, because they know Google. But if you're in some small startup, you need to justify and prove that you were capable of that role, right? As long as you can do that, you should still be fine. Just don't expect the same level if you're moving to a bigger company, okay? Because nobody is going to, if you're working as a CTO in a startup, you're not going to be a CTO of a bigger company, obviously, right? You're going to be severely downgraded because the scale at which you need to operate on in that big company is not going to be the same as what you're used to. So you have a whole lot of different learning challenges to deal with when you go to a big company. So as long as you're prepared to do that, and as long as you're prepared to experience that downgrade, you should be fine. In fact, I would say growing rapidly in a small company exposes you to challenges that people learn only much later in large companies. So it is a benefit, right? It's a feature, not a bug. So don't worry about it. Quarkus versus Spring Boot. Can you please make a video? All right, I'm going to star this and I'm going to make a video. That's a good idea. It's one of the, often you encounter one of these video titles which you know is going to become super popular. People are going to click on this. This is one of those things. If I make a Quarkus versus Spring Boot video with a thumbnail like this, right? You are going to watch it. You sitting in your seat right now. I know you're going to watch this. So I'm going to make that video. I'm perhaps going to have that exact thumbnail. All right. Let's see. I've been a Java developer with around 7 years of experience, mostly worked on app, which are already in production. Never got to work on advanced stacks like microservices, unit testing, cloud. I am clueless. I don't see a question here, but I'm assuming the question is, what do I need to do? Well, get a clue, my friend. Stop being clueless. Learn about those things and start building. Wait a minute. Did you say unit testing? Advanced stacks like microservices fair, unit testing. You should be unit testing for 7 years if you have 7 years of experience. So I would say get that solved first. Unit testing is key. You write code, you got a unit test, right? But okay, microservices and cloud, I'm going to address those two. You should try learning about it. Watch my videos, watch other videos that are out there, and build an application end to end, right? Follow one of my Code With Me series, right? I'm going to plug my stuff. Why should I plug someone else's stuff? Watch my Code With Me series where I build an application end to end. I don't think I do microservices though. So yeah, find somebody else's stuff, not mine. Do one microservice project where you do end-to-end development and deploy it to a cloud. I think for 7 years of experience, if you can do that, you're going to have a solid profile and you can do really well in interviews. So just do that. It's not advanced. I would say it's the next step in your career journey. So as long as you do that, you're going to be fine. The IT org, I have noticed high experienced tech employees, 20 years, are pushed towards taking management roles. What's your view on that? What should be the next target? I kind of answered this previously. Your goal should be to deliver impact. There are companies where you as a tech individual contributor cannot deliver impact because of the way they've structured their organization, right? In order to continue increasing your impact as you increase your levels of experience and your salary increases, the only option is to switch to managerial role and go grow there in order to increase impact. So I would say as long as you have an opportunity to make impact that is in accordance with your level of experience, be in tech, doesn't matter. But if you're in an organization or in a culture, like in a city or a country where that is not possible, you will unfortunately have to switch or move somewhere where that is possible. Please share Java Brains coupon. Been a subscriber there once already. I don't do coupons, but I think I should mention this. If you're a student or if you're unemployed, you get access to all my courses for free. I have put this in big bold letters on my website. If you don't have a job right now, or if you're a student, you don't have a job either, right? If you don't have a job right now, if you're not earning, let me know, okay? Write to support. I will hook you up with free access. You don't have to pay. If you have a job, especially if you have a tech job, I don't know, should you be asking for coupons? Think about it. Hi Shiva, how are you doing? Tech world is going through a rapid change with all AI technologies. Go Rust is becoming a preferred language in some segments. What paths would you recommend to newbies? I covered AI before. It's I think AI is going to be a horizontal that is going to affect all jobs, and all of us have to be applied AI specialists. We need to be able to use AI just like we use IDEs. That's going to be an integral part of the developer experience. And I don't think it is going to affect one language more than another. It's my personal opinion. Okay. A lot of people immediately think AI is growing, I need to learn Python, but I don't think that's the case. I think AI is in a way going to affect machine learning developers as well. Okay, even people working in AI are going to use AI. So I think of AI as a horizontal that is going to affect in a way that's agnostic to your language and your choice of technology. In terms of Go and Rust becoming the preferred language, I would say it is still not mature enough to pose a challenge to the backend space where a lot of my audience is, right? A lot of my audience is Java developers working in enterprise side of things. I don't think Go or Rust is as popular there or as captured that much mind share there. When that happens, I would say, sure, let's switch. But at this point, when somebody is new, I don't think I'm confident enough to say, go learn Go or Rust. I would say if you're looking for a job where you're working for an enterprisey company and doing backend roles, Java is still the way to go. And especially for a newbie, you spend 4 years learning Java, the first 4 years working on Java, and by that time Go or Rust becomes popular, you can easily switch then, right? Your 5 years experience, it's okay. The challenge comes when Go or Rust suddenly becomes popular in 5 years. What happens for 20 years experienced developers, right? For those people, or even 10 years experienced developers, for those people, shifting will become a little more challenging because, it's harder, right? The more you're encroached in there. So at that point, it's going to be more of like switching to more architect roles, which is again going to be tech agnostic. So yeah, the two parts to your question. First, AI is not going to care if you're working on AI itself or web development or JavaScript or whatever. It is going to impact your job, and you need to treat it as a tool, just like you treat an IDE as a tool today. And secondly, Go or Rust, probably not for freshers who are looking into enterprise space. I'm curious to hear what you think. Roadmap for Java backend developer role. I have a video for Java backend developer roadmap, which is surprisingly still valid. That's Java for you, right? I think I made that 2 years back or something. It's still valid. Go check it out. My question was skipped. I'm sorry. I don't know what your question is. Let's see. I'm going to find out. I'm going to search for your... Wait, where did it go? I didn't find your question. I searched and I don't find it. So are you sure you asked a question? Again, like I said, if I skip your question, it's not personal. Please don't hate me. Here's another super chat. I'm now completing 2 years in my first company and I'm 23 years old. I have joined here as a fresher. I'm thinking of a switch. Will an OCJP help? Wait, what is OCJP? I have no idea what this is. Is it Oracle certification? Oracle certified Java programmer. Okay. Nah, I don't think it's going to help. The fact that I had to look it up should give you a clue. Certifications help only if you're doing perhaps cloud certifications. One of the cloud providers, AWS or Azure. But don't waste your time with certifications for Java. Just learn to be a good developer and learn how to solve problems well. That's all that matters. All right. How to increase confidence while coding as a senior developer? Just be a better developer and be comfortable with expressing lack of information. The people I have known who are confident are not the people who know everything. They just confidently say things that they know and things that they don't know. That's what you need to be comfortable with. Be comfortable with saying, I don't know. It's not a negative or a flaw in yourself. A lot of us don't know much. Okay? So take that block away from your mind, saying that I can be confident only if I know A, B, and C. I can be confident only if I have watched these many courses or read these many books. Confidence is a mindset, and it is independent of what you know. You can confidently say, I don't know, which is fine. So if you decouple it from pre-existing conditions, you can be confident no matter what. So just keep that in mind. And follow that up with being a good developer. You can't be confident while not backing that up with skills, right? If you do that, then you're just going to come across as a jackass. You get the idea, right? Be confident and be comfortable expressing your ignorance. It's okay. As long as you're also expressing interest to learn and grow, it's going to be fine. You can confidently say things wherever you don't know. Remember in the YouTube channel, however, recently you changed to a different website. Should I change my monthly membership to your new website as well? I recommend the website because it's a low distraction environment. YouTube is like, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable watching videos on YouTube to learn when there are suggestions which are meant to hook you and take you away from the video. So YouTube is a very high distraction environment. So I would recommend switching to my website. And I think it's cheaper as well on the website. javabrains.io, in case you're wondering. How do I network as a college student with employees from big tech companies, Google, Meta, Citadel, etc.? Try attending meetups and try communicating with people on GitHub. Create issues, make pull requests, pick issues, respond to people, right? A lot of stuff is online. You don't have to physically be with somebody. Send a message, like if somebody posts something on LinkedIn, respond to them, interact with them, have a conversation there, express your viewpoints, things like that, right? Just spread your web online and people are going to kind of like notice you and respond to you, you respond to them, and that's how it grows. Also kind of pick it up from there, right? Express interest in a person and message them and kind of talk to them like, hey, can I ask you some questions? And most of the time people are going to say yes, and ask them about their experience and kind of develop a relationship from there. We don't like to make friends in our present day and age as adults. I'm struck by how kids make friends. Like I see kids being like, hey, I want to be your friend. And then they're just friends. We adults don't do that. So just do that, right? Say, hey, I liked your article. You want to chat? Let's talk, right? Something like that. Again, some people are going to think you're crazy, but just do it with 10 people and you're going to have 2 friends, right? Simple. Pure wisdom. Yes. I'm a very wise man. Thank you. It's, I think it's, well, to be honest, I don't know for what answer you mentioned this, so I shouldn't assume. So I'm just going to take the compliment. Thank you. Thank you. I try. How significant is asynchronous programming in completable future in the era of microservices? It is going to be significant because at this point, there are a lot of different paradigms for microservices. The event-driven model still has some need for asynchronous programming and reactive programming and all that. So there is still some benefit to doing that. But again, like I talked about earlier, when you're thinking of web development, I'm assuming web development because that's kind of like the core of my audience. When you're thinking web development, you're not often dealing with threads. You're not often dealing with, concurrency. So it doesn't affect immediately, but especially with virtual threads, which kind of does a lot of work for you behind the scenes, it doesn't affect you immediately. But if you are in that space, it's a good tool to have in your tool. But don't wield it all the time. But when the need comes, you will know because you have the tool and you know what it does. All right, I'm going to keep going. Love your way of teaching, explaining. You're doing an awesome work. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. I try. I'm a React developer. What's the future of web development? Is AI going to overtake everything? Covered AI already. Please rewind and watch. Short answer is no, it's not going to do that. 7 years of experience was in tech support, then in development. I haven't done any freelancing or anything on GitHub. This scares me because I still don't know how to build a website. How long have you done development? If you've done development for at least a year, you should know how to build a website. If not, I would question what development have you done. If it is somewhat adjacent to tech support and you've just been tweaking code as support requests come in, I wouldn't say that's pure development. I would say if you are looking for a future in development, you need to be comfortable building applications end to end. So I would say focus on that. If you don't have anything on GitHub, it's fair that you're scared. That's a good first step. The fact that you're scared gives me reassurance that you want to work on this. I would say that's the first thing to do, right? Irrespective of whether you put things on GitHub or not, build an application end to end and go through the process of building a complete solution and publishing it somewhere, okay? And once you do that, you're going to feel little less scared and you're going to feel a little more comfortable and confident. So definitely do that. Do you provide SDAT training by any chance? Again, I have no idea what SDAT is. What is SDAT? That should give you a clue that I don't do SDAT training. All right. SDAT. I have no idea what this is. Software development and testing? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. We don't use SDAT in my workspace, so I have no idea what you're talking about. If it's software development and testing, well, I do the software development part of the training. I don't teach testing per se. Testing is a part of software development as far as the unit testing is concerned. I'm sorry if I completely misunderstood your question. What do you think are the long-term career options for Java backend programmers? I would say you have two options: either specialize and be really good at architecture. Well, you have three options: specialize and work on a really niche area in Java development. Second, you increase your impact as a senior architect or a solutions architect, cloud architect, so that you're in charge of large amount of technology rather than just writing code. The third option is switch into the managerial role. All three are very valid. How to do with so much work in our job and also when there is this recession? I'm guessing it's the follow-up to the previous question about how do you switch roles? You have to find the time, my friend. It's just the way it is. When you are working in support, that was you, right? When you're working in support and you're working in tech support and you're switching to something else, you have a deficit, okay? Your credit is in the negative. You're going to have to put in the effort and make it at least zero before you switch to positive. So this means sacrifices. This means not watching movies that you would have normally watched and instead doing this stuff. So acknowledge the fact that it is going to be hard. Know that you don't have to do it. And the consequence of that might not be what you want. So pick between the consequences of not performing the action and the consequences of performing the action with personal sacrifice. Find out which one's more appealing to you or less scary to you and do that. If you are switching roles, yes, it does involve personal sacrifices. It does involve working while you would have just had fun. So be prepared for it. Nothing is free. I'm just calling this out because I have answered your question, but I still see you spamming my comments. I'm guessing it's an old one. Please don't do that. Please stop. I hate to add the moderation and then the delay, because some people type one line and then hit enter and type another, and they cannot type another line. So please be mindful of that. Don't spam my comments, please. Thanks for the videos. You made so much impact in my career. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. I'm a computer science student, but I have a full-time job as a software developer, and it's difficult to choose one. If you're a computer science student in the middle of studying, I would say complete your studies. You can always get into a job, but you cannot go back and finish your studies. Finish your... Depends on how much you've done. If you're in the first year, then maybe. But if you're somewhere in the middle, I'm going to give you an analogy, right? Imagine you're out walking in the rain. You're just out walking and it starts raining and you have to go get an umbrella, right? If you're close to home, what are you going to do? You're going to go back and get the umbrella. But if you're somewhere midway or somewhere towards the end, what are you going to do? You're not going to go home and get the umbrella. You're going to walk the rest of the way in the rain, right? So depending on where you are in your degree or whatever, pick the right thing. If you've just left home, go back and get the umbrella, which is the software developer role. If you're midway, it really doesn't make sense to go get the umbrella, right? Finish your education and then get the job. Just want to greet you from Germany. It's early and I'll watch the video later. Yes, please do. The replay is going to be on. So catch up. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions. All of you folks, let me know in the comments. If you're watching it later, you're watching the replay, add a comment and I'll try to answer. All right, I see the same questions again and again. I'm going to move on. Okay, so that was before I first asked you to spam. It's all good. It's all good. I think I've gone back way back now. So I'm going to skip ahead fully. I see a bunch of super chats as well. Let me address this. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for teaching me Spring Boot and helping me get 200% hike from the previous company. Well, I am glad that it helped, and try to give back, mentor someone. You can pass on the knowledge to somebody else. So super awesome to hear it. Thank you. 4 years of Java experience. I worked in Fortune 500 companies in BFSI. Again, I have no idea what BFSI is. I'm sorry. I have never been a hardcore programmer that can put in hours of coding. Future advice. How can I move upwards in my career? The myth about you being a hardcore programmer, working hours fueled by coffee, as I take my sip of coffee, fueled by coffee, sitting in the dark overnight, lights dim, you typing furiously, text flying on the screen. That is a movie scene. That doesn't happen in real life, right? Don't be misled by the hardcore programmers or the 10x programmers. Those do exist, but most of them are a pain to work with in my experience. The industry doesn't want hardcore programmers. The industry wants problem solvers, people who can communicate, people who have empathy, people who can work with other people and get together to achieve a greater good. Even though it might be a small good in the grand scheme of things, it's greater than what was there before, right? That's what the industry needs. That's what you need to be good at, right? Make people's lives easy as an engineer. That's what all engineers do. We are here to solve problems. As long as you can do that, you're fine. Don't aim to be a hardcore programmer. Be a problem solver and make people's lives easy. And as long as you can do that, you're going to move upwards in your career, right? We all have problems that need solved. So you're going to be fine. 3 years working as a Java dev in a top MNC, but I didn't get to do hands-on. I want to switch career as it becomes stagnant here, but low on confidence is not so much hands-on done. I still face issues with problem solving. I think the answer is obvious here. You need to do hands-on coding. If your role isn't giving you the opportunity, I would say switch to a role where you can devote like 10%, 20% of your time doing this stuff. Or even in your current role, tell your manager that you want to do this and devote like 10, 20% of your time doing hands-on work. The lack of confidence and the worry that you have, right? The fear that you have is because of your lack of skill. It's just about you breaking the first hurdle, which is to build an application. Once you do that, your confidence is going to come and you're going to trigger a snowball effect where you build a little more confidence, kind of propels you to write a little more code, make something happen, which again builds more confidence, and then you're going to have a positive feedback loop. So make sure you do that and you're going to be fine. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Since you have just 3 years of development experience, you can easily catch up. Just invest the time in doing hands-on work. You've identified the problem already. You don't need me to tell you to do it. The answer is right in front of you. Not sure if I've done this already. Create a video series on design patterns, tying them up with real-world examples in a system design course, maybe a live session for members. The video series for design patterns, first of all, thanks for the super chat. Video series for design patterns has been on my mind, but it is a lot of work. The videos that I do, the explainer videos that I do, I really sweat over that stuff. It's a lot of work. And I haven't had time to do that lately because, as you folks know, I also have a full-time job. I don't do this full-time. So I don't know if I can commit to doing that anytime soon. Those explainer videos take a lot of effort. I know they have a lot of impact, which is why I do it in the first place, but I need to be in that mind zone to make those. It is hard. System design courses, yes, I do plan to do that. I have a bunch of classes that I want to conduct. I did a boot camp earlier this year, which kind of was halted because, again, my work pressure took over and people also reduced interest in that boot camp. For whatever reasons, it kind of tapered out, but the content is available for members. Like all of those courses are available for members. I start with Java and data structures, lambdas, streams and Maven, and we go up to relational databases, SQL, kind of like taking you step by step. All that is available for members. So you folks can benefit from it. I plan to do classes like that for system design interviews as well. And again, I plan to make it available for free for unemployed people. I just have to sit down and make that content and prepare that content. Hopefully, we have the winter holidays coming up, so hopefully I'll have some time to make those. But thank you for asking. All right, I'm going to give me just a minute, folks. I'm going to close my window. It's getting cold here. All right. moving on. Let's see. How are you folks doing? I hope you have found this helpful so far. I have skipped many people's questions because I can only answer so much, but please let me know in the chat and, in the comments, and I will get to this later. I will try to maybe make another stream where I'm just looking at the questions that are already here, and I will try and cover them. My apologies. It's not intentional. I already mentioned like skipping can happen. It's not personal. Do you think VS Code is the best alternative for IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate? It is not the best alternative, I would say. It is workable. I have had a mixed experience working with VS Code. It is good for simple projects, toy projects, but if you need something bigger, IntelliJ is still the king for Java. There are a bunch of, I know Oracle released a VS Code extension. I haven't tried that out. I should try it out. But based on my experience with the Red Hat VS Code extension, it's good for simple projects. But for more complex projects, you would want to need something like IntelliJ. Even the community edition is much better than what you get with VS Code. Right. But Java will still be the most widely used language in the foreseeable future. I don't know if you're addressing a previous comment, Shiva. Go is gaining popularity quickly and is beginner friendly. Yes, it is gaining popularity quickly, but it is not yet broken into the backend space. It is getting there, but I still feel like as far as the ecosystem is concerned, Java is still very, very popular, which is what you have mentioned here as well. For folks watching, huge shout out to Shiva Labs. Google this name. This is somebody I had these conversations with Ranga and Shiva. We had like a series of conversations about how to become an architect, right? It's on Ranga's channel. And Shiva has a lot of insight. He writes blog posts, which are very, very insightful. I'll admit, Shiva, I haven't read some of your recent stuff if you have been writing, but the things that I have read, I have been a fan of. So go check him out. Without degree, is it possible to be a Java developer? Yes, it is possible. Degree helps, but it is possible. I see a lot of people complaining about skipping question. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Okay. Thank you for the content. Your content is a go-to place when I get stuck many times. Thank you for saying that. I am glad. It is very easy to get stuck, so you need to do what it takes to break that. I'm actually going back because what's happening is I switch to Super Chat and then I come back and it's scrolled all the way down, which is a pain. All right, my manager told me he would help me get promoted a year ago. More than 14 months later, he keeps telling me he needs more time. He still has not even talked to his manager about it, what to do. Find a different manager. Either switch to another team or get another job. A good manager tells you why. Okay, a bad manager lies to you about it. So if your manager is lying to you, I don't think he or she, he in this case, is doing a good job, right? The manager needs to offer feedback. If there is a reason you're not getting promoted, the reason has to be clear. Even if the reason is, my friend, it's got nothing to do with you. We just don't have availability, right? That should be the right way to do this. If they're not telling you, if they're not promoting you, at the same time, they're not telling you why you're not getting promoted, either have a direct talk with him and ask him, can you tell me why, right? Tell him, like, I get it. You're not interested in promoting me. I want to know why so that I can, if there's something I can do, let me improve, right? Give me an opportunity to improve. Give me the gift of feedback. If they're still not doing that, then I would say find another manager. That's not cool. I've used Groovy with Spring Boot. It was good, but lose market to Kotlin. So I would recommend going for Kotlin than Groovy. Yeah, Groovy is not very popular anyway. Like it had a little bit of a market share at the beginning, considering that, it was easy, right? Gradle adopted it, but soon it lost market share because one of the reasons why Java is so popular is because of its strict type safety. Groovy was basically Java trying to be JavaScript. And now we have JavaScript trying to be Java with TypeScript. So Groovy totally had the wrong idea. It was going in the wrong direction. As a good Java backend engineer, what are the things that I should learn? I know Spring Boot, databases, OpenTelemetry. I'm not feeling confident that I have the knowledge and experience of good backend devs. Again, if you are feeling anxiety, it is a lack of skill. So identify areas where you feel confident. Where you feel anxiety or lack of confidence. Do you feel lack of confidence in building applications end to end? Okay. What is it that you're afraid of? Tap into that, right? Anytime you feel anxiety, it could be because somebody else is talking and you lack something and you feel that anxiety. It's a clue. It's showing you something. Identify what it is. Was it because somebody else did something that you weren't able to do? Find out what it is that they did and you feel lacking because you aren't able to do, and go learn that thing. All of these things are good things to know. If you know all those, if you think you know all those and you still feel a lack of confidence, maybe it means that you just have a theoretical knowledge and you haven't actually implemented it. In which case, go and implement it, right? So tap into that lack of confidence, tap into that anxiety to find out what it is that bothers you, and then go work on it. For students, do you think contributing to open source projects nowadays is more important than working on personal projects in terms of improving one's experience or career profile? I have a couple of things to say about this. Your personal project is an open source project, right? When you say contributing to open source project, the implication there is you're contributing to an open source project that has a lot of users and is not something that, it is a hobby project, right? It's not built by one person. It's something that has more impact. I would say as long as the contribution is meaningful, you can work on it and showcase it. It is also a great addition to your experience. It makes you a better developer by contributing to open source projects where the code base is significantly advanced and complex. It kind of teaches you how to learn code base which is already there. But at the same time, if you're sending pull requests to Spring or Apache projects where you're writing documentation, fixed one line of contribution, made a PR, submitted it, now I'm an open source contributor, that's not a good way to go about it, right? So my recommendation would be do a bit of both, okay? Do personal projects because you have to do that anyway. And try to get into open source project. Try to understand what it takes to understand the code and pick a bug, find out where the bug is happening and solve it. Learn how to work with people. Even if it doesn't affect your resume, it is a great personal experience. It teaches you how to work in a team. For students, it's very important. Secondly, What was I going to say? It gives you the confidence, I think, because you don't do that in universities. In universities, there is one right answer, which you're expected to provide. When you're working in the real world, there isn't one right answer. There are multiple right answers and many more wrong answers, which some people think are right answers. It's blurry, right? It's mixed. So working with real people, that'll help. If it results in career opportunities or whatever, great, but think about it for your own experience. That's the first thing. What kind of certification would you like to advise for a full stack developer more than 13 years of experience? I would say cloud certifications. Don't go for Java certifications or Spring certifications. It's not useful, in my opinion. Asterisks, disclaimers, conditions apply. I'm a Java Spring Boot developer with 5 years of experience. I'm good at core concept of Java and can work pretty fine, but I have zero knowledge on data structures and algorithms. I want to get a job in Fang. Well, my friend, this is going to work against you. When you're applying for Fang companies, they're not going to care for your Spring Boot experience. Most of the Fang companies don't use Spring Boot to begin with. Okay? Well, some do, but they don't care. They care more about your data structures and algorithms experience. So you have to lead code. If you're getting into Fang, you have to lead code, you have to network, and you have to be good at algorithms. It's just a fact of life, the way things are right now. Your opinion on being a language agnostic engineer. You can. I actually cover this in my recent video as well. There are a lot of engineers who prefer not sticking to a single technology. They move around as the job takes them. It's harder, but it's also more impact focused. It's more like the technology is a means to an end rather than an end in itself. I don't know if it's if you look at that and go, well, I can do it, then sure, but it is overwhelming and intimidating to a lot of people. I wouldn't do it. It's actually, I would rephrase language agnostic as person who speaks multiple languages and is always willing to learn a new language, because that's what it is. You can never be language agnostic. You can be multi-language aware. That's what you need to do. So if you like that, then sure. If it doesn't scare you or intimidate you, sure. But I personally would find it tiring and tedious after some time, right? I feel like I wouldn't be good at any of those things. Do you still have one-to-one? No, I don't do that. Does no code have the feature? What? Is no code have the feature? Yes. I have no idea what you're asking. What's your advice for someone that was rushed into Java and Spring Boot, and now after 4 years, I catch myself not knowing basic stuff or just doing things mechanically without deeper understanding? I think what you're having is the opposite of the problem that a lot of other people are having here, which is that you can do stuff, but you don't understand the foundation. In your case, I would say try to build more advanced stuff. It's very tempting to say, I'm going to stop this, like I'm just been doing basic stuff without diving deep. I'm going to stop and go take a learning detour. I would say be careful with that, because once you go there, it's going to be hard for you to come back. I would say try and gradually level up the complexity of the work that you're doing. Okay. And again, have it be need-based learning. Okay. Treat your working like a 4-year-old treats things, right? Ask why. If you're building something, even if it's the basic stuff, ask Why is it this way? Why am I doing this, right? That should be a launching point. Now, what's going to happen is it's going to take you from that basic knowledge that you have, and you're going to try and build that context around it. And from there, you build forward, right? Go build something a little more advanced, build the context around it, keep asking why, and kind of build that. That would be my recommendation, because you have only two options, right? Continue further in the execution part and learn along with, or stop just building stuff mechanically and go take a learning detour. I would say go for the first option, which is continue working, not mechanically, but asking why, and gradually level up the complexity of the things that you're building. I think that's a good way to take it further. You are officially a superstar. Am I? Thank you. I wish I was a superstar, but I try one day. Well, we'll see. Thank you. It's one of the things that I often feel is I don't think I have a sense of the audience. It's always a problem with people who post content online, right? I've seen these people who give out seminars, like real life seminars, where you have the audience collect, and they really feel the size of the audience. I don't feel that. So I don't think I can ever consider myself any form of a star, because in my mind, I'm just speaking to a camera. So any impact that I have is like, am I really having that impact? I'm not being mock humble. It's just really the fact of the matter that I don't see the size of the audience. I can never feel that way, if that makes sense. Should I watch your spring course as a beginner because it's 13 years old? I think yes, because none of those things have changed, especially the Spring Boot course. The Spring Core course is a little outdated. I have a new course, which is at this point members only. So take that if you want to learn Core Spring. But if you want to learn Spring Boot, that content is still very valid. And it's not 13 years old. It is like maybe 5 years old. It's not that bad. And it's still very much valid. It's going to get you up and running. It's going to teach you the concepts. I teach concepts, right? That's one thing that you will get from my courses. And concepts don't change so much. The syntax changes. Concepts don't change. Get the concept, and probably a small diff in the syntax. You can pick that up anytime. What design patterns have you worked in your career? Any preference? Ooh, man. I think at this point, I don't think design patterns. I feel like I can look at a code and see what the right way to do is and the wrong way to do is. But I apply these things all the time, right? Abstraction, the singleton pattern, what else? I think I apply most of the design patterns in my day-to-day work, but I don't really think of them as design patterns. I think that would be the best answer. I don't even think of the name. It doesn't come up. But when I'm building something, I know, okay, this has to be done, right? I'm going to have to use an iterator for this or something like that. Please share the recording. Yes, the same link is going to host the recording. You can watch it afterwards. Idea. Please do a podcast on a weekly basis and give us some home tasks to keep ourselves up to date. Next week, show us a solution and share the next assignment. This is actually a great idea. This is really, really good. I'm going to star this, and I will think about this. I will ponder this. This is a really good idea. I think this can really help people do things, right? Work on things. Thank you so much for mentioning this. Please tell me ideas. If you have something like, hey, I wish Kaushik did this. Assume you're my manager, right? You're my manager and you're giving me work. What is it that you would want me to do? Please let me know, and I might do it. Which company do you work? I work for LinkedIn. Okay, I think I answered this question. I answered these. All right, I'm again going to skip questions. Please don't blame me. I'm going to skip all the way to the end and I'm going to work myself back, okay? Who's your favorite Kannada superstar? I was just told that I'm a superstar myself. So if that is true, I'm going to say me. I don't. Here's the thing I should admit. I don't watch movies. I just don't want movies. It's not independent of the language, the film industry. I just don't do it. I don't watch TV shows. Just not my thing. I listen to music. I watch cricket sometimes, but I've kind of stopped that too. And I read books. And I do this. This is the reason why I can do this, right? People ask me, how do you have a full-time job and still do this? Like, I don't do anything for my entertainment. I lead a boring life. I've been told I'm a boring guy because I don't do any of that stuff. So there you have it. I don't have any superstars. I'm confused. How do I approach software development in this time? What do you mean this time? You approach it just like how you always approach it. By learning. Mechanical engineering, gap, you want to switch to IT, no HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What should I do? I feel underconfident. I would say be good at building applications. Find someone who can refer you to jobs and apply for jobs and wait for the call to come. When the interview call comes, do amazingly well, okay? Rock their socks off, get the job, and get your way in. That's really the way to go. How do you interview a Spring Boot developer? What expectation from a developer is working in frameworks for more than 6 years? I don't do interviews for Spring Boot, but if I had to, I would ask them what they did in their previous company with Spring Boot. I would ask them to explain to me what feature of Spring Boot they used and what problem they solved with it. That's my interviewing style. That's what I do. Okay. I don't ask them, what is dependency injection in Spring? That's not my style, right? I look at a resume and I basically have a conversation with that person. Like, hey, it says you did data adapters with Spring. Tell me about it. What did you do there? What was the data you were trying to fetch? What feature of Spring did you use? Did you like it? What were the problems that you faced, right? My goal is to separate out fact from fiction and, given the facts, identify if that's justifying the qualification of the candidate. That's what I would do, but that's probably not what other people do. So you really cannot go by my answer for this unless I happen to interview you. I think for 6 years, you should have a complete confidence in building applications, APIs, and good experience in handling problems with APIs, some amount of security knowledge, whatever security manifests in the company that you're working for, how do they do it, and some problems that you have faced, some kind of a scaling problem. There should be some problem, right? Some problem that you faced, how you overcame it, that stuff. And have an awareness of microservices. Know how microservices are built, what are the components involved in a microservice, and how a microservice fits into the big picture. Those are things that I would expect from a 6 years experienced Spring Boot engineer. I won't expect you to build full systems, but I'd expect you to know what are the pieces in a fully built system. After 10 years as a Java engineer, how tough is it to switch to a as a data engineer, how tough is it to switch to a Java developer role? For 10 years, it is going to be a little tricky because you're going to be competing with other junior engineers. So I would say find a way to integrate Java development into your data engineering position. Is there a way you can still be in data engineering and write code in Java to handle the data? There is a little bit of an overlap there. See if you can find that niche and gradually transition rather than switching entirely to Java. Because again, you're going to go from a 10 years experience level to 0. If you are 5 years experience, I would say, sure, you can try it. But 10 years is probably a little bit on the higher side for you to make a complete switch like this. Try to transition instead. How do you manage your time for job versus family versus channel versus learning new things? I think I just addressed this. I don't have a life. I don't watch movies or TV shows or stuff like that. I have learned to find happiness in other things. And as I've done this, I've also realized that I've lost happiness in TV shows and movies and computer games, right? Now, if somebody were to make me watch a movie, I wouldn't enjoy it. I think it's more of like it's an acquired taste. You have to watch a few movies to learn to enjoy movies. Like I'm so away from it now that it's not even fun for me anymore. So that's how I find time. Why don't you have courses about Java E or Jakarta E? I have one that I did long back for JaxRS, but I don't do it these days because it's not as popular, right? Spring is much more popular, and this one isn't so much. It's understandable that people want to join FANG, but it might not be as rosy as you expect. On the other hand, there may be small orgs with great work culture and similar salaries. No need to suffer with lead code. This is assuming that the reason for joining FANG is culture and salary. Most often it is I don't know how to say this. It is the brand. People join Google because they can say they work at Google. I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but I've noticed that's there. And also, salaries, I don't know if it is as true as work culture. I'm sure there are a lot of smaller companies which have better work culture than these big companies, than the FANGs. But salaries, it's going to be hard for you to find it. So I think those are the two main reasons why I've noticed people join FANG. It's because they want a higher salary, and non-FANG companies with the same amount of salary as fewer and far between. Secondly, they want to proudly say, hey, I work at a Google or I work at a Facebook. Those are the main motivators, in my opinion. Is no code, low code the future was probably the question. Okay. I don't think so. I feel like AI is going to play a much bigger role than low code or no code. I feel like low code will eventually transform to just clever AI prompting. Just my personal experience. I don't think there's a lot of future there. I have a career break of 3 years. Now I'm resuming my software development journey. I feel very underconfident. I need some good industry-grade Spring Boot projects to practice. What path for me? What's stopping you from building applications? You can take a Code With Me series that I have, or I'm sure there are a lot of other YouTube creators who are building end-to-end applications, right? Build things with them. What's stopping you from doing that? This is like, you clearly are self-aware because you're saying that you need good industry-grade Spring Boot projects, right? Start with just your own projects. Don't wait for industry grade, right? Start your own projects, build something end to end. There should be nothing stopping you, right? Once you do that and you develop confidence, look at open source projects and submit a pull request. Do a GitHub search for Spring Boot. Find something which has the most stars, right? Find 5 projects which has the most stars. Look at issues and try and solve them. Even if you don't plan to ever submit a PR, try and find the root cause for an issue and try and solve it. Someday, you're going to successfully solve the issue, then submit the PR, right? That's how you get industry grade experience. You're never going to get industry grade experience from starting from the scratch, because guess what? Even when you are in the industry, you're very rarely going to be starting from the scratch. You're going to be working on other people's code. So first, get comfortable working on large code bases by creating something from the scratch, then work on open source projects, and just kind of find your way into the industry where you are going to be working on industry code. How to develop side income as Java developer? I don't know. Bitcoin? That was a joke answer, by the way. I mean, I don't know. Freelancing is probably a good option, but Java freelancing requires a lot of networking. So be prepared to do that. My friend has 6 months of experience as a Java developer and has decent problem-solving skill and wants to work on his idea, but he's confused about quitting his job as it wastes a lot of the daytime. If your friend has 6 months of experience and has a job, I would say stick to the job, especially in this market. Ideas are very easy. Okay, a lot of people have ideas. The challenge is in manifesting that idea into a product that people will use and sign up for. Your friend might have the best idea which is going to change the world, but statistically speaking, it's likely going to need a lot of time and effort. So unless your friend is financially secure, I would say continue working on the day job and treat the idea as a passion project. If the idea is compelling and burning enough that he or she can spend time on it in free time and make some personal sacrifices. If the idea isn't compelling enough to cause him to be willing to make those personal sacrifices, it wasn't a good idea to work on to begin with. Okay, so I would highly recommend against quitting his job as a 6-month experienced Java developer. Is it mandatory for an architect to have good coding skills? How important is coding on a regular basis for an architect? I think it's good for an architect to be able to code so that they're in touch, but it's not mandatory. After a certain point, an architect is not likely to be coding a lot. As long as you can look at code and understand what's going on, as long as you can identify bad code and suggest good code, that should be fine. But then again, it depends on the size of the company, size of your organization. In smaller companies, architects often code a lot. In larger companies, there are a lot of architects who are passionate about coding and they do code. But there is this implicit assumption that when an architect is coding something, it is super high impact because an architect's coding time is more precious than a junior developer or a senior developer's coding time. So a line of code that an architect writes better have way more impact than a line of code that a senior developer writes. So as a result, single lines of code rarely have that kind of an impact. So as a result, architects don't tend to code. But yeah, they still need to be able to read code, understand good code, and call out bad code and explain why. As a recruitment challenge, I must write Spring Web App by Groovy. I would say I would run. I'm not going to recommend you to do anything. If I was asked that, I would be like, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I work as a Java developer. I'm working GCP developer associate. Want to focus next Java or 11 certified or Kubernetes certified. I wouldn't say focus. No, don't do Java certification. I think I already covered that. Kubernetes certification, maybe. Cloud certification, sure, that helps. But no, not Java certification. Sorry. I'm trying to learn Java design principles. I do understand what they're explaining with a given example, but I can't internalize it and start to implement it. Can't wrap my brain around the concept. Have you ever tried not doing it? Like somebody gives you an advice and say, here is a design principle. Think about what happens if you don't do it, right? A lot of the design principles are not so you gain something from doing it, but it is to avoid certain pitfalls. So the benefit of these design principles can often be understood by understanding the pitfalls that they avoid. So for example, take something very simple like abstraction, right? You want to have separation of concerns, you want to have abstraction. What's the problem with not doing that? Suppose you don't have abstraction. What happens? Think about it in that sense. And I think that you'll have a better idea of understanding what those design principles are and where they're coming from. Thank you for all the knowledge, Kaushik. You're welcome. Just now watched your sets video. Everybody go watch the sets video after the stream. I just published one earlier today. So watch it and let me know in the comments how you liked it. Can you tell us how to continue on a technical side, having 6 to 8 years of experience? I don't want to go on to the management side. For 6 to 8 years, you're not hitting any limit with technology. You can just keep going and increasing your impact. Find a way to increase impact. Find what can you do so that you're not just delivering code, you're also impacting other people's code and you're impacting architecture. That should be your path forward for when your experience hits double digits. And at some point of time, depending on the culture in your company, you're going to hit a limit in terms of what impact you can do. At that point, you might want to either switch to another company or switch to management. Java specialist principal role with 13 years experience in Midwest financial insurance firm. Looking forward to move to big tech. Your suggestion to approach preparation for behavioral questions. Demonstrate impact. Have stories that show where you have made an impact and really earned your salary. Define the story in terms of what the problem was, what you did to approach the problem, what were the challenges you faced while you were trying to solve the problem, and how you eventually solved the problem. And an added bonus, what did you do to make sure that either the problem doesn't come up again or to help other people who would solve the problem if that happened again. So you're kind of not just solving the immediate problem, but doing something to make sure that life gets better from there on for others as well. So have those stories, right? Stories are super useful when you're doing this. And secondly, for behavioral questions, I guess this isn't maybe this is behavioral questions, but yeah, have those stories. Secondly, have strong opinions. These big tech companies reward strong opinions. They want people who can say what to do and justify it. They don't like people who see both sides and go, well, this opinion has this benefit, that other opinion has that other benefit. That's actually good in general. Okay, because I'm like that, right? I always see both sides of things, right? I like to think of myself as a very empathetic person, which has helped me a lot in other areas. Like, for example, I think it's helped me in teaching because I can empathize with the student. But when you're in big tech, empathy is required in other situations, but not in holding two conflicting opinions and seeing the benefit of both. Opinions are there. People have opinions. In big tech and product companies, they need strong people who can pick an opinion and move the discussion forward. So you need to be opinionated and be able to justify your opinions. So that should surface in your answers. So strong stories, being opinionated, and being a good communicator, which is useful in general, will help. Hopefully that answers your question. Do you think Azure certificate? I think, yeah, Azure AWS certificates are worth it. What are the basic mistakes that beginners do when they enter into tech companies as a software developer? And when do they see huge coding and stuff? And when they see huge coding and stuff, some topics are going to go over their head. Mistakes beginners make. Let's see. All right. One mistake that many beginners make is to look inwards when they have doubt. A lot of beginners in the industry lack confidence. So let's say they're overwhelmed by something. They think they're the problem, right? They think, oh, I'm not good enough. This is too much. Like if someone else was there, they would have gotten it right away. And I'm struggling here. The problem must be me. Okay? That's the first mistake that they do. Often, not many other people know things that beginners assume they know. So it always helps to ask. When you're a beginner, you have a license to display your ignorance proudly, as long as it's followed by a passion for learning and getting rid of said ignorance. So if I was a beginner, I would ask questions all over the place, right? And even if you join a new company, this applies. Ask a lot of questions. You have the license to ask questions. Don't look inwards. Assume that the problem could very well be the system. And you as a beginner are looking at faults in the system in a new light. And this might be valuable feedback for the company that you're joining and telling them, hey, this is messed up, right? You're getting a beginner perspective. You're getting a fresh perspective. Don't let it go to waste by keeping your struggles to within, right? Tell out your struggles. If it's a problem with the system, there is an incentive for the employer to fix the system. If the problem is with you, you're still not to be blamed because you're a beginner and you get to learn, right? Win-win both ways. So yeah, and also learn stuff, right? You see, when they see huge coding and stuff, what you need to do is try and learn, try and ask questions, try and reach out to people and get to meet people, talk to them. Those are the stuff that I would say. All right, I'm going to wrap up now because it's been close to 2.5 hours. I know that there are a lot of comments here that I did not address. I'm going to scan through and perhaps address some important stuff. All right, I recently got laid off. I have 4+ years of experience. My notice period ends this month. Should I consider jobs even if I'm not interested in the role since the job market is bad now? Depends on your financial position. If you can financially support yourself, try a little bit harder to get the job that you want because there is some amount of momentum that's going to come with getting a role. And if you're choosing a job out of desperation, you might be stuck in it a little longer than you would like. So if you're financially secure, try and be a little bit more choosy. But yes, the market is bad right now. So if you are given a job in a big company where there is a possibility of a lateral move, just go take the role. Right? If you're joining a big company, large organization, you can take the role and then pave your way towards the role that you want later. Right? Once you enter the organization, it's easier to switch from department to department. So maybe consider that. And if you're really, really desperate, really, really in need of a job and money, then pick a job where that possibility of a lateral move might not happen. You really need a job right now. All right, I'm going to keep going. I am skipping questions here. Thank you for becoming a member, Mohit. Hope it works out and you enjoy the content. Let me know. What should be the new tech stack for developers to ace in 2024? I don't know. For backend development, it's still Spring. Spring is still leading by a huge margin. It's no other framework has caught up to it yet. So in 2024, I'd still pick Spring for Java backend stuff. For front end, React is still the king, but Vue is fine as well. Angular is fine. So I personally am I know React for front end. I know Java and Spring for backend services, and perhaps a little bit of the cloud and containerization, Docker, Kubernetes, and if you really want to go a little bit more towards DevOps, maybe learn a little bit of Terraform, databases. That's your typical stuff. But it starts with how much level of experience you have. Start with Java, Spring, front end it's React, and other associated technologies around it. All right. I understand that I haven't covered all of the questions, but I'm afraid I will have to wrap up because it's been an hour and a half and I need a break. So, and it's getting late. So I have to wrap up now. What I'm going to do is I want to do justice to the people who have mentioned, come over here and asked questions. So what I'm going to do is after the stream is done, I'm going to go through the chat and pick questions and try and address them as much as I can. I might not do a live stream because if I do a live stream, I'm going to get more questions and it's going to keep going. So maybe I will do a recorded video and I will post that out here. How about that? Okay. All right. So, well, thank you so much for joining me and asking me these questions. I hope my answers have been helpful and valuable to you folks. Please watch out for a lot of new content that's coming my way. And please comment on my videos. I read all the comments and your comment is great feedback for me. If it has helped you, tell me that it's helped you. If it's bad and it's a waste of your time, tell me that it's a waste of your time. I learn from all of the comments, right? So please let me know. And thank you again. I hope you folks have a really nice weekend. Bye-bye.